Hello, everyone. It's me, Andrew. I'm here at Star Cottage Studio in the Bead Room in lovely Ligonier, Pennsylvania. I know it's not Tuesday. What's happening in the world? I don't know. Actually, I do know. So, William is at the shop. He's there for the night market, which is happening right now. So, if you are in Ligonier, um, or the surrounding area, they have the country market kind of takes over the town on Thursday evenings, on select Thursday evenings throughout the summer. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's vendors set up all around town. And so he is doing that. And I decided that I was going to hop on. He was just going to cancel, but for tonight. But I said, no, we can't do that. We've missed too many already. So here I am. Hopefully, you all are having a great week so far. Today is our 11th anniversary. So we're going into year 12 officially. Back when it's kind of confusing because back when we started the shop, we started, I guess it was maybe in June or July. I'm going to say June or July. So it kind of messes with my mental calendar. But anyways, I see a couple of folks have tuned in. Sorry about that. Teresa's watching. Hey, Teresa. Donna's watching. Howdy, Donna. Suzanne is watching. Hey, Suzanne. Facebook user's watching. Hey, Facebook user. And Norma Frank is watching. Hey, Norma. So what happened? What happened? So there's a couple things going on, and I'm going to do a quick recap, and then we'll get started. How about it? So today is our 11-year anniversary for the store. So we've got a cool sale going on online in our website. That's allegorygallery.com. Use coupon code anniversary and save 20% off your order. That, I believe it's off of everything. Sometimes there are certain things that are not. We don't put on sale. Like the AG Fine Pewter doesn't always go on sale. I don't know if it's on sale now. We talked about it last night and he said everything. So go into the website and see if you can get that discount. It's a pretty good one. And we've just added a bunch of new stuff. So definitely take advantage of the sale while we've got it going on. That will be valid through Monday at 11:59 Eastern Time PM. So if you haven't had a chance to go to the website and check things out, please do so because there's lots of new stuff and I think you'll like it. Let's see. Hey, Sharon. Sylvia says, happy anniversary. Thank you. Sharon says, hope you're feeling better. I do feel better for the most part. But every once in a while, I'll get a little something in my throat. And I have allergies anyway. So I'm constantly stuffed up anyhow. But I feel fine-ish, better than before. And we've been pretty careful about who we've been around and how we engage. So, we want to be as mindful as possible. Cheryl says, happy anniversary. Thank you. Sharon says, happy anniversary, Allegory Gallery. Thank you. Facebook user says, hiya, Andrew. I bet that's Marianne. Sylvia says, what is that rainbow stack of books behind you? It's just a stack of books that is in rainbow color. So if you didn't see the wall, I kind of did it with rainbow themed. I wanted something that was going to be a perennial kind of background and not so seasonal, because it actually takes a lot of work to reorganize the back or the background. So yeah, I don't want to have to do it every other week, because it's kind of a pain, because then I have to reorganize all the other beads in the bead room. And so I thought having a rainbow was kind of like, it could last for a while. So I like to accessorize with different props. If you've ever seen the shop, I don't really work in the physical location anymore, but I kind of set the precedent to, make it as a beautiful and inviting space as possible. So I try to do that for the background as well. I know some folks are more minimal, and we're actually talking about backgrounds last night or the night before last. And one of our friends was like, "Yeah, I want to have it all white behind." And oh, they. So it's always interesting to see what people like and what they think is good. I like this rainbow, and then plus the beads, I can actually see them. I'm one of those people. I don't know about you. I don't know how you are about this, but if I can't see it, it's like it doesn't exist. And so I have to have things kind of easily seen or in a place that I know where it is. Otherwise, it just disappears and it's like it doesn't exist anymore. So for me, it's super important to have things kind of visually available, if that makes any sense. All right. Donna says, happy anniversary. Thank you. Harry says, hello, Andrew. Howdy, Harry. We were actually just talking about you, Harry. Our friend Karen, she sent us a beaded portrait of Babette. If you didn't know, our cat Babette, she passed away recently. And we have a little shrine for Paolo, and we added the beaded portrait to the shrine for Babette. And anyways, we were talking about how we need to have commission you to make a little Babette to match the Paolo that you made for us before. So I think that would be a nice way to pay tribute to them and all their years of love in our household. So we need to get in contact with you. If you didn't know, Harry is all around creative genius. He does lots of things: ceramics, makes jewelry, makes lots of bread, all kinds of good things. Donna says, I love the rainbows. Thank you. Me too. I've always loved rainbows. Marion says, aha, there you are on YouTube. You found me. I was only 1 minute late. So I know at one point William did cancel the live because he wasn't able to come on. And I said I would just jump on real quick. So here I am, y'all. Sylvia says, you should do the background in a heart-shaped rainbow. Maybe. The thing is that I have only so many colors and so many beads, because originally I was going to do it like in a row, but then I realized I don't have a lot of orange beads, and it's pretty wild because I had a background and it was all orange, and yeah, now so you kind of have to. It took a while to figure out this background, believe it or not. Susan says, hello, all. Hello, Susan. And happy anniversary to Allegory Guy. Yeah, we were super excited about it. Normally, we plan something a little bit more festive and a little bit bigger. However, because we were sick for 2 weeks and then quarantined an extra, we kind of didn't plan anything and canceled a bunch of stuff because we didn't know when we would be back to work and when we would be back in the cottage and all that fun stuff. So, so it threw us for a loop. Um, Now, in a completely separate thing, but kind of connected thing, our family, Cynthia and Azalea, they're up here from Green Girl Studios. They're visiting for the weekend and getting some kits ready, and we're going to go on some walks and eat some food and make some stuff. So that's going to be super fun. I think they're at the night market right now as well. We had a booklet of coupons. It's like coupon cash that you use at the farmers market. Um, and I was like, use this because we haven't used it at all. So I said, go and use as much of it as possible. So yeah. Harry says, I would be happy to do a cat for you. I just made a witch cat with a tiny pointy hat. Oh, good. If it's um, I'll look for it because I have a cute little picture of Babette wearing a little witch hat. So that might be uh, uh, happenstance. Susan says, Harry is a true Renaissance man. I agree. Susan says, hello, Cynthia and Azalea, and of course, William. Yeah, William is at the shop. He's going to be there until, I believe, 7:30. The night market runs till 8, but we have a meeting at 7:45. So we have to go do that. And yeah, so that should be fun. So I mentioned that we were having a sale in the online store. That's allegorygallery.com. There's a bunch of new stuff, and I definitely recommend you take advantage of that. The coupon code to save 20% off your online order is anniversary. And yeah, make sure you add it into the coupon code field because I will let you know it's a pain in the butt to try to reverse engineer things, if you know what I mean. So, like, if you put an order in and be like, oh, I forgot the coupon code, and then trying to take that off after the fact, it kind of throws a wrench in things. So, make sure to use it. It's a good one. And there's lots of cool stuff. We just added a bunch of gemstones to the online store and some like random things that V found a bunch of stuff in the back, and I was like, where did all this stuff come from? Like some of these things I thought were long gone, they just appeared. So pretty cool opportunity. Cynthia says, we just got back to the house. I tried to jump across a creek and my foot slipped and I fell hard on the rocks. I'm going to look for Epsom salt. They are in my bedroom, and I can give them to you when I get home, I guess. I guess if you go directly into my bedroom and then look to the left, there's a pile of junk that I've culled from the bathroom, and it should be relatively on top. I don't know. But we have some. I just need it's just in that pile. Hopefully you feel better and aren't like too banged up and bruised. So, because that's not fun. Sylvia says, that's what I say about my ex. I thought it was long gone, but nope. Oh no. Hopefully you can wear some black tourmaline and burn some sage and ring some bells and clear the air, kind of, so to speak. So today is Thursday and tomorrow is Friday, naturally. But tomorrow, Friday night, we've got a lot going on. During our live, we're going to be hanging out with Hannah Rossner from Good River Gallery. They sent a trunk show, her and Sean Tucker, and we'll have things available from them tomorrow. So be sure to check that out. That is not a part of our anniversary sale because we split the money and we can't take anything off of what we split. So unfortunately, that doesn't get covered by the sale this weekend, but everything on the online store, I believe, is. So even my original artwork, some of it gets um, semi-pricey. So if you've been eyeing up a painting or something, you can save like $50 off of stuff um, on some of them. So it's a good deal. Um, so we've got that going on tomorrow night, the trunk show with Han Rossner and Sean Tucker of Good River Gallery. That's super exciting. I always enjoy their thing. It's a Halloween and autumn themed trunk show. And if you saw yesterday's live, William did a little quick preview. So you may have gotten a little sneak peek of a few things that will be in the trunk show. So take a look at that. That's pretty cool, pretty exciting. Directly after that, we're having our meetup for the Surrealist Garden kit. So there'll be an album posted tomorrow in the Allegory Gallery Design Challenge group. I might have William post that tonight for tomorrow, in case somebody else is in a different time zone. I know it gets kind of confusing, but it's really not that hard. So if you want, you can post your creations starting tomorrow in the album. We set up an album. You don't have to post it in the album. However, it is easier to keep track of things in the album because they all get kind of put together that way. Otherwise, if you're like, oh, who made this? And oh, I saw XYZ person made this, but I can't find it. And people will want to comment on your pieces and, support one another. But yeah, it's harder to comment when things get buried in the timeline. So yeah, so that should be posted tomorrow, and we're going to do a creative make-along. And you can use your Surrealist Garden kit. They're all sold out now. But if you didn't get one of the kits, that's okay. You can always just hang out with us and make things. It's nice if you use things that you got from us, but honestly, I'm more excited about just creating and building a fun creative community. So it's a fun thing. We always enjoy it. At least I do. We usually go for about 2 hours. Sometimes we'll go a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit less. It just depends on the day and how everybody's feeling. But I like it. We see each other in the comment section here. And we kind of touch bases with one another that way, which is nice. But this is just another way to connect to one another, and I really enjoy it. So hopefully you all enjoy it as well, and will join us tomorrow evening, and we will get together for a creative make-along tomorrow night. And we'll post the link tomorrow evening, and you may in the design challenge group. Now you may be saying, why not post that earlier? And the reason why we don't post it earlier is that it's a private, or our group is a public group, and if you post things too early, that gives a chance for people to jump in who are maybe spam, and that's not always great. So yeah, we'll have that tomorrow night. Then on Tuesday. Now, the other day when I was on, I gave you the wrong date because we had a couple of schedule changes. But Tuesday, February 20th, is going to be the kit launch day for the Great Bead Extravaganza's Fall Fest. So if you are interested in that, not everybody has kits. So if you're like, I didn't see this person's kit, don't worry about it, because not everybody does kits. We didn't do a lot of kits that you can make along while you're watching the show. Um, so for us, we're kind of getting into the groove of making kits that people can work along with. I think what we'll do for our kit launch is we'll have a little tiny project, like maybe a quick pair of earrings or a bracelet or something, um, and debut that on kit launch day. And then on the day of, we'll do our full shebang, if that makes sense. The reason why it's a little bit different is because I kind of like it to have it where it's more accessible. Sometimes the kits kind of get pricey, and I know that some folks are having a hard time, and because we're in the same boat. We're not immune to the fluctuations in the economy. Yeah, so it's a nice way to spread things out, and hopefully you'll get them by the time we have our event. And our event kicks off on October 21st, 22nd, 23rd, I believe. So keep your eyes peeled for that, because I think that'll be fun. All right, I see some comments that I missed, so I'm going to catch up on that real fast. Marion says, bruises sometimes wait until the next day to show. Yes, that's true. Susan says, oh dear. And Sylvie says, it's all good. We're okay. I was just playing. Well, that's good. Susan says, that rainbow stack of books looks interesting. Yeah, I wish that there was a rhyme or reason behind the titles, but basically I went through our bookshelves and found colored spines that matched the rainbow. So I can see there's a Philip Pullman book, there's a Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale book, there's Eckhart Tolle. There's a couple good ones. I think I see an Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks up near at the top. I'm surprised that I can see this tiny business up in here. I can't really point very well, but anyways, there it is. Norma says, I'm looking forward to playing with the Surrealist Garden kit. I haven't done anything yet with it. Now, you may or may not have noticed that the colors for the Surrealist Garden kit very closely match the colors for the Great Bead Trade. So when we did the Great Bead Trade a couple weeks ago, I was still sick. And so William jumped in for me, and he made a bracelet, and I'll show you that bracelet when I flip the camera around. And then they had an after party because some of the, and it's totally partially my fault that the kids went out later than they were supposed to go out. But anyway, so they went out a little bit later. So some of the people didn't get things, and some people had more time to create. So they had an after party, and I was still sick for that. So I didn't get to play along with that. So I thought today, since I was kind of filling in for William, that I would take the opportunity to finally make something, because I think the kit was really cool. Now, if you're curious, if you go to the Great Bead Extravaganza page, you can see details on how to find some of the components that were featured in the Great Bead Extravaganza bead trade kit that were sent out to all the participants. Unfortunately, there is not really a way to get everything all at once unless you won one of the giveaways. But the giveaway, unfortunately, is over for that. Teresa says, love the make along. Oh, good. Susan says, I'm going to try to make the Zoom meeting. I mixed my stash, mostly AG stuff, with a Cerealist Garden kit for my work. Oh, great. So if you want to hang out, you can hang out. And yeah. Um, Sylvia says February 20th. I think I may have, she may be talking about the date of the kit launch, and that's September 20th. So it's Tuesday. Susan says, Sylvia, I was wondering about that too. I'm missing some time there. Yeah, my mistake. Mercury's in retrograde. So, anyways, and Marion says, in the fall, Pantone colors too. Yeah, we imagine that. We designed it like that to match up. All right. So I think we're caught up with my updates, and I feel my throat getting a little froggy. So I'm just going to flip the camera around and we'll get back to making something. How about it? Let me see if I can do this. All right. Who's ready? I'm excited. I didn't take an allergy pill this morning, and I was like, I wonder why I feel so congested. And that's probably what that is. So, because I was fine yesterday, but today I feel very, clogged up. All right. So I'm going to flip this around. You're going to see the ceiling for a moment. All right, what have you all been making? Hopefully you all have been making fun things. Now, if you are going to hang out in the Creative Make-Along tomorrow evening, don't worry about it. If you have already made something, you can just hang out and share what you've already made, or you can make along with us. Basically, it's just a time for us to get together and spend time with one another. Um, if you have any problems that you need help troubleshooting, like, oh, does this go with this? Or what do you think about this? It's a good way to get feedback instantaneously in a group environment. So if you want to hang out and make something and get feedback, that's a good opportunity. It's also just a great way to see the people behind some of the names. And if you're nervous about showing your face, because I know sometimes people are nervous or shy and they don't want to necessarily go on camera. I don't always like to go on camera. I 100% don't always like to go on camera. So if you don't want to go on camera, you can always leave the screen off and just join only with audio, or just hang out. It shows a little black square with your name on it. So that's an option if you don't want to have your face be on the camera. Because I know one person was saying that they had just gotten out of I can't remember what it was exactly, but they had gotten back from something and they were hot and sweaty and didn't want to be on camera. And I was like, you don't have to be on camera, but I get it. Um, there are some days when William goes live and I'm like the disembodied voice in the background, chiming in every once in a while. So yeah. So Suzanne says, I've been doing some redos. Yeah, that's pretty fun. I have to go through some of my early stuff because I use some pretty cool beads and I need to do some redos myself because, after time, your aesthetics change, or you have a new idea for something, or you learn new skills and you want to incorporate things. Waste not, want not, right? I collect some things and I'll kind of save them as kind of a benchmark to show my progress to myself. Um, I used to be a little bit more self-conscious about my work. Um, and so, like, if I had work from my college days, like, we had this thing called the Ugly Art Party, and they had a big bonfire, and you'd burn different things. And I did, and I feel a little bit of regret about doing that because, even though some of the things weren't perfect or I got better with my skills, it would have been nice to be able to look back at those things. Um, but at the time, it felt very cathartic to kind of get rid of stuff, and to kind of clean the energy, so to speak, and start fresh and new. So in that way, it was nice. But in another way, it was, now that I look back on it, I kind of miss some of those things. So, anyways, yeah. Susan says, my work area is a mess. Hopefully, that's not an issue. Yeah, that's not an issue at all. If you've seen my work area is super terrible. I mean, I was just talking with William about how I need to organize my studio. I've been in and out and moving things around, and we're getting there little by little. We're getting things set up and kind of finessed, but it's taking a while. I don't actually get to spend a ton of time in my studio as much as I would like with everything going on. So, yeah. Marianne says, I'm sort of working on a piece with Softflex Autumn Dreaming Kit. Oh, good. Jody says, hi, Andrew and everyone. This is Jody, and I am hoping to make the Zoom meeting tomorrow. I have been productive and made 3 bracelets with the Surrealist Garden Kit, all made with Softflex, and we'll share them when the album becomes available. Oh, good. Yeah, I'm going to ask William to do it tonight. He's at the night market right now. So, and then we have a meeting right after that. So hopefully after the meeting, I have a deadline tonight for New York Jewelry Week, and I'm a little bit stressed about that because I haven't made anything new that I'm really happy with. So we'll see about that. Luckily, the deadline's on Pacific time, and it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. Um, but yeah, it's going to be a busy night tonight. I foresee. So let's get making. So this is the kit. Um, William had it kind of spread out from when he was making, and then shortly after, we both got sick. So it pretty much hasn't changed since the last time he had the kit out. It's all here from when he was working. Um, and so he made this really cute bracelet. And I think that's cute. Good job, William. Good job, William. You did a good job making this. So that was his kind of creation for the Surrealist Garden. Or not the Surrealist Garden, the Great Bead Kit. Great Bead Trade Kit, the most recent one we had. When I was watching it while he was working on it, kind of in and out, um, and I can't remember who sent all the fibers. I want to say it was Kay, but I can't remember. And she or somebody sent all these fun fibers, and I thought, well, I'm digging these colors, and I'm digging these textures. So I thought, how about I do something with them? And yeah, so I've got one strand of this eyelash yarn, another strand of eyelash yarn in this kind of pink, dusty pink color. And I've got one strand of this kind of velvet cord. All right, so what I think I'm gonna do is, um, now if you're looking for fibers, we made some fiber cards, and there's some really fun eyelash yarn. I don't know if they're on the website, but if they are, you should definitely check them out. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kumahimo these. Um, Teresa says, "Great job, William." Jody says, "I love the bracelet William made." Oh, good. Susan says, "Vivid jewel tones." Marion says, "Yes, it was Kay." Oh, good. Donna says, "I haven't made anything with a surrealist kit yet, so I'm looking forward to the Zoom tomorrow." Oh, good. All right, so I'm going to jack this up a little bit higher, and I'm going to cut my eyelash yarn in half. So I'm going to find my ends. I'm going to match up my ends and then carefully find the middle section right here and cut it. All right. I'm going to carefully set that aside. I don't think I'm going to use this one for this project, but I do like that, so I'll save that for another time. I'm going to find the ends of my pink eyelash yarn and find the ends, match them up, find the middle, and cut that as well. In theory, I don't have to do this part, this cutting business, and actually probably would have been better if I didn't. But oh well, hindsight. So I'm going to match up the four ends of my eyelash yarn, and I'm going to make a little knot at the end. And it's an overhand knot, super easy, super simple. And then kind of pull that so that it gathers right there like that. All right. And I'm going to make sure that knot is pretty secure. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this little clip. And the cool thing about this clip is it's got a hook. Actually, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do first is take this and pass it through my kumahimo disc and take this little clip and then attach it to the end and then attach it to a weight. And I've just rigged up this fishing weight, so it's heavy, and put it on ear wire, and then I'll put this on after. So I'm just attached that, and then I'm gonna go like this. So I'm gonna find my cardinal directions. This will be in my north, east, south, and west. And I'm going to take my fibers and I'm going to put two of them, one on either side of the dots. I'm trying to remember if I'm doing this right. I think you have to use more cords, but or it's better to do that. Let me think. Usually there's two more. So maybe I will use the brown one after all. Hey y'all, I didn't say that I was completely together yet. So let me do that really fast and add that really fast. So I was like, this doesn't look right. All right, so I'm gonna find my middle section for my brown cord. And actually this will be good because it will kind of tame that eyelash yarn a little bit. And the eyelash yarn I like, but it's a very fragile yarn. It's not something that has a lot of structural integrity to it. So I'm just going to tie this a little knot here. so that it attaches. All right, there you go. So 2, 4, 6, and then I need another color. I'll grab another color real fast. So here's some organza ribbon, and I'm just going to measure this off. I've got one length here, and I'm going to measure that off and trim it. And then I've got another length of this kind of bluish color. And I'm going to use that. It's nice to be a little bit of a hoarder because then you have these random things like organza ribbon hanging out within arm's distance. And I'm just going to tie a little knot on there as well. Now, I tied the knot on there because it helps it kind of keep it together. Generally, when I'm doing this, I will like to spend a little bit more time putting the ends together so that when I go to finish this off later, it's a little bit cleaner and less like chunky. Because right now I'm putting all these knots in the end, and that's kind of a pain. But yeah. So I've got this disc. I've got this. I'm going to put this in here like so. And then I'm going to put my little clip here on my Kumihimo disc. I think we sell these in the store, but these are one of those things that you have to special request because I don't think we have them online. I think we used to have them online back when we had the old website, but when we redid our website, I don't think they got added. So I'm going to put this over here where we have our cardinal directions. So we've got those 4 dots, north, east, south, and west. I'm going to put 2 of the strands, one on either side of the dots. And I'm not being super careful about this. And I'm not really jamming stuff down super aggressively. But yeah, so I've got that. And then let me put this like this. All right. So once you get this, it's kind of like this cross. And that's how you get started. Now it's good to have the weight on there. And I'm going to show you the bottom. And the reason why is if you don't do the weight, you're not going to have a very good tension necessarily. So yeah. So I'm going to go down like this onto this side right here. And then this one is going to go up over here. And then I'm going to turn it. Now, I've seen people do clockwise and counterclockwise, and it doesn't necessarily matter, just as long as you go, as long as you keep it in the same way every time. Now, you can't go clockwise and then counterclockwise and then vice versa. I also have seen where people will have bobbins. So every once in a while, I'm going to go and kind of straighten out my yarn so that it doesn't get tangled, because it can easily get tangled if you're not mindful of it. So I'm just going to talk to you all about life and what you all are doing in life. So what are you all making? Have you been making anything cool? What have you been doing with your summer? Are you doing back to school? I know some people are parents, and they've been getting their kids back to school. Are you doing any shows, like getting any ready for any shows? I know there's a couple people who yesterday they were talking about doing shows. Um, I'm getting ready for New York Jewelry Week, which happens in November, but all the deadlines for that are like this week and next week. And there's a show that I'm going to try to apply for at the Armory Center in Florida, but it just depends on what I get done. And also applying to all these shows, um, it's cool, but sometimes it gets a little pricey. Like, they'll curate something and it's $40 here, $40 there, and you don't even know if you're going to get into the show, which I kind of figure, it's like the price of doing business or whatever. But yeah. So if you're like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll put it down like this and it'll have the 3 here and I'll know that this is my bottom. So if you need to step away for a moment, put one down and then you always know which one is the bottom and then you can just go to the top. Now, the other way to figure that out is the working strands make a V, and then the ones that you just did kind of make a square. So, yeah. Let's see. I see a couple people saying things. Rosie's tuning in. She says, "Good afternoon from Buena Park." Hey, Rosie. Marion says, "I just recently started a part-time job. It's tiring, LOL." Well, that's good. I know you've been looking for a while, so that's good. Diane says, in I'm still making in the disaster of my dining room. Oh no. Um, Susan says, finished the necklace using the Hyperstein beads earlier this week. Going to finish the Realist Garden bracelet later. Also been on a roll making earrings. Oh, good. All right. So we're going to just keep going around and around. I mean, this is not super exciting. So, I mean, I think it's fine. I think it's very meditative. Um, I know that this is probably not the most exciting thing you could watch tonight. I'm sure there's other things instead of me just going around and around in a circle. But I don't know. I just think it's kind of fun. It's kind of something that you can do mindlessly without thinking. Um, when we were in Hawaii for a trade show, we were helping out Green Girl Studios do a trade show, and this is a while ago. And William went with me, and so it was me and William, and we were set up next to Jamie from the Bead Gallery, and we were set up at the show. It was a Softlex show at the Ward Center in Honolulu, and that was in this kind of shopping complex. So it was neat because there were little cafes and galleries and things. And it was really close to food. So everything was kind of in walking distance. They had a great farmers market across the street, so you could get all kinds of fruits and vegetables that are kind of hard to get where we live. And whenever I go to Hawaii, I'm addicted to their Kona coffee because it's good, but it's cheap there. Where we are, if we get Kona coffee, we either have to special order it or it's like super expensive. But there, like the McDonald's has Kona coffee, and um, you know, it's really affordable to get it while you're there. So anyways, so I went down to get a coffee and go to the bathroom and take a little bit of a break. And by the time I came back, William had gotten his own Kumihimo disc and he got the whole setup. Um, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And this is before we had the store. This is when we lived in New York still, I believe. And he was like, "I'm gonna do Kumihimo now," and I was like, "Uh-huh." And so he got all the stuff while we went to the bath when I went to the bathroom and to get a drink, and then it was in a box for years and years. But and then I think we may have given it to his mom, and she made a bunch of stuff, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I think it's pretty fun. And you don't necessarily get a ton of, I mean, it goes fairly slow. I mean, so it's not like a fast process. Once you kind of get in a rhythm of it, it goes much quicker. But I thought this was a cool way that I could incorporate this eyelash yarn and make it more structural. I know, like, it's super tempting to use it in jewelry, and you can definitely do it and like hang stuff off of it and incorporate it. But it's not necessarily the most structural thing. So if you do start hanging stuff off of it, you just have to be mindful that it is a little bit ephemeral. So um, just keep that in mind because you don't want to put a lot of structural pressure on it and hang a bunch of heavy beads off of it, because if you do, it's just basically going to fall apart and break. So if you do decide to hang beads off of it, you could maybe wind it around some soft flex or something to give it a little bit more oomph and make it a little bit more structurally sound. Otherwise, you just have to be okay with it maybe breaking, because sometimes that happens. If you use a material like that. Usually this is used for like knitting and crochet. So um, you use that in or weavings. So the structure gets built in that repetition of pattern. Kumihimo is an ancient Japanese knot braiding technique. So this was used a lot for like there are these so on a kimono, to keep the kimono closed, there's an obi, which is kind of a wide band that goes around the waist. And from that, people would hang netsuke and in-row boxes. And basically, it was how you kind of kept your stuff. So these little in-row boxes open up, and then the netsuke is a little bead at the end, which kind of controls how it opens and closes. And they're really beautiful. They're done kind of sculpturally, usually carved from boxwood. And we have some of those available in the online store if you're interested in that. If you're local, you can actually see we have a little strand of beads in various stages of process. So it starts off with a block of wood, and then it goes down stage by stage, and you can kind of see how they're carved, which I think is pretty cool. um, so, anyways, those are hung off of the obi, and sometimes they would use this cord to hang stuff off of the obi as well. So, and if you want, you can do all kinds of patterns with kumihimo. I never really got into making lots of patterns. I know, like, you can make little hearts and stuff that are kind of embedded into the thing. You can do beaded kumihimo, which is pretty cool. For me, I'm just mostly interested in the structural element to use as a base for other creations. I would say that I would do this like off camera, so you didn't necessarily have to watch me go back and around and back and around. Um, but this is something that we've only had so much of the materials because they were sent in the surprise challenge kit. Um, so I didn't necessarily have a chance to do this beforehand because normally I would. Now, right there, I got that caught up on the weight. So I just have to untangle that and make sure that I'm not crossing the streams like Ghostbuster times. Don't cross the streams. Let's see. Jody says, I didn't realize you could do this with just fiber instead of beads. Can't wait to see how it looks. Yeah, you can. It's actually how I do some of it. The bases of the necklaces I used to make. I would take recycled sari silk and do this. Sylvia says, just tuned in. Your color selection is nice. Have you shown the braid? I haven't. I wanted to get a little bit more done so that you get more of a visual pop once it's done. Because sometimes if you flip it over too early, it just looks like a little nubbin. Facebook user says, how fun to kumihimo with Kay's fabulous cords and threads. Norma says, I'm glad you're doing kumihimo. I've been wanting to learn it, and those fibers are so pretty. Yeah, it's super easy and it's kind of addictive, and you don't actually have to like watch. I mean, you have to pay attention, obviously, but you don't have to like be eagle eye about it, and you can like watch a show and keep your hands busy. Um, Donna said, or this is a great project for traveling in like a car. Um, like if you're the passenger, you can do this, and it's super kind of relaxing, and you can make something, and by the time you get somewhere, then you have a finished piece. Um, Donna says, yeah, Kona coffee is expensive. Suzanne says Kona coffee is so good. Yeah, I agree. It's one of my favorites. Donna says, Suzanne, yes, it is. Kara says, if that was that Ward warehouse, that shopping complex is gone. I heard that, and it was kind of sad because it was a very beautiful view out the window. It was an older building, but I enjoyed it. Jody says, I tried eyelash yarn when I was crocheting. It was not easy to work with. It was okay working with it while I was using a different style of yarn with it, but and not by itself. Yeah, I guess that. Harry says, I have a collection of Natsuke, rabbit, mouse, horse, chicken, mostly wood, a couple ivory. That's cool. We have a couple as well. A lot of Cynthia's early designs were actually inspired by ancient Japanese Natsuke. So Marion says, Rebecca of Design and Adornments makes beautiful kumihimo jewelry. Yeah, she's been on a couple different soft flex things, and she like is a whiz at this. Me, I just dabble. But I think it's pretty satisfying. All right, I'm gonna keep going. So, um, yeah, what are y'all having for dinner? It's been a while since I've asked that, mostly because we haven't been online. Um, and then also, if somebody could give me a time check, because I don't have a clock visible when I'm using this program. So I'm on Eastern time. So if you know what time it is, let me know in the comments. Because otherwise, I don't know. And we have a meeting at 7:45. So I don't want to miss that. Susan says, I have a few Natsuke as well. It's a beautiful art form. Diane says, Chris brought home Subway. That kind of sounds good. William says 6:05. Harry says, I think we're having sandwiches. And then everybody's telling me 6:05. Suzanne says, pasta Florentine and bread. Marianne says, chicken Caesar and beef empanada. Jody says, I'm having speedies and rice for dinner. I don't know what that is. Susan says, caprese style salad for my dinner. That sounds good. Miriam says, I'm going to watch Softlex customer appreciation presentation. Well, good, because by the time you get done with that, we're probably going to be maybe kind of done. So I'll show you a teaser of what this looks like. So this is kind of what it looks like. I don't know if you can see it. When you braid the eyelash yarn, it kind of controls it a little bit. So it's not quite as fluffy. There's a little bit of that fringe, but it's not as wild as if you just use it plain by itself. So it helps that braiding kind of keeps that hairiness down. And sometimes I'll go back through and trim some of it, and that's just so that it's not tickling me. Because it is kind of like, it's like feathering on your cheek or whatever. You're gonna be thinking it's a bug or something crawling on you. So I'm just keeping going with this Kumihimo, and I know, it's not maybe the most interesting thing to watch because it goes so slow. But I think it's a really fun thing. Maybe I'll put this off to the side. I originally wanted to make this as the base, and then I could show you how to finish it, and then maybe put some beads and stuff. But I think what I'll do is first I'm gonna put this to the bottom to signal the bottom, and also you can check and see if you look kind of more closely at how the threads are going. You'll want ones to go over the two, and then this will go over those two. So if you're curious about how that looks, let me get a little bit closer. You can see how that kind of, there's those two that are kind of make a square, and then there's these two that make the square, and then these are the V, and you want the V's to go over the square. So this one came down over that kind of square, and then this one will go over. But I'm going to set this off to the side. You kind of see what it will turn into. I think we're going to get a bracelet link. I don't think we're going to get a great big necklace out of this. So I'm gonna want maybe 8 inches, seven or 8 inches of working thread or working cord, maybe a little bit less if I put a bigger clasp on it. Um, but who knows? Maybe I'll incorporate this into a necklace of some kind. But so that's your kind of introduction to Kumihimo, and using the fibers, well, most of the fibers from the Great Bead trade. So, and those are from Kay from Stars Beads, if you're interested. So, yeah. And if you're interested in a disc, you can email us at info@Allegory Gallery, and we may be able to hook you up. Um, but sometimes people have those available. All right. So I think what I'm going to do is I love this bead from Christy Friesen. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer so you can. Jody said Speedies are a regional thing here, and there is even a. How do you say that? Is it Spidey or Speedy? I don't know. Spidey. Um, I don't know how to say that. How do you say that? Um, there's a Spidey Fest near Birmingham, New York every year. Harry says, I'm going to try this. I did not realize how it worked. This really helped. Oh, good. Speedy. All right. So I'm going to, and I think this is pretty cool because you can use, I know, Harry, you use a lot of like vintage brass stuff. And you could easily use that as like a cone or to clamp it down. I like to glue my stuff. So when I go to finish this off, what I'm probably going to do is take some white glue. I know y'all. There's people that are like, oh my gosh, Elmer's glue. I hate the Elmer's glue. Whatever. It's actually useful, y'all. It actually does stuff. So what I would do is I like to take this and take this off of the weight off, dip this end in white Elmer's glue, let it dry, and then trim it. And then that way you can get that nice and clean. It's all the fibers are bonded together and you can still cut it. Some glues, when they dry, they become very hard and brittle. And that's not always great because you want to make sure that you can kind of trim it and be able to manipulate it. And then that way you can trim it really close. Otherwise, you have a lot of this big bulky material at the end. Um, and there's different caps that you can use. I used to make a lot of my own caps. I've seen people use spent gun shell casings or bullet casings, and um, there's like the brass part, and put a hole in it and then put a little head pin up through it and then use this to glue in, and it fits in pretty perfectly actually. Um, so you could easily do that. So there's a lot of ways to finish these off. Sometimes people will take wire and just wrap it around the base of it, and then use that wire to create the bail. I like to use that to hide that in there. So what I'll sometimes do is once I've got my cap situation figured out, I'll put my head pin in, and then I will take some Loctite glue. Well, I'll rough off, if it's a metal component, I'll rough up the inside of that component with a little bit of heavy grade 220 sandpaper, just so that there's a tooth. And then put a little bit of Loctite in there and insert this into my cap, and that really holds it on. And there's even ones that you can kind of crimp them down and they will kind of close up on top of it too. If you want more examples of how to finish those off, one of the great resources that you can check out are leather websites. And I'm not talking like, like Leather Daddy kind of, you know, sexy time, leather time stuff. I'm talking about like leather, like Tandy's leather, where they make like bolos and things like that. Because a lot of those kind of techniques about finishing them off, because it's a wider cord, you can kind of use in this kind of instance. Because sometimes if you try to like, this does get kind of bulky, so it gets a little bit tricky to use like standardized things, if that makes any sense. So check out like leather working websites, and they've got a lot of tips on how you can finish off wider cords, like bolo cords and stuff. So if you Google like bolo leather, and finishing bolo leather, a ton of different resources will come up. And you probably could get stuff from Nile, from Silver Silk, because his cord like this is not too much smaller than this. And so you probably could get some really cool cord ends from him and put them on there as well. Sometimes if I have like a smaller, if I use smaller, kind of less bulky cord or yarns, I'll use a ribbon end. And I'll do the same thing that I was describing earlier of dipping this in Elmer's glue and letting it dry. And then you can also take your pliers after it's dry and smash it flat so it can fit nice and secure in those leather ends. And then just use a dab of Loctite. Some people don't like using glue in their work, and I can understand it because sometimes it can get messy. However, it's in my mind, any extra kind of like security belt, to help you keep your thing where you want it to be, is never a bad thing. Some people are like, oh my gosh, she uses glue. Glue. I hate glue. I only use mechanical closure. But, to each their own. Like sometimes with stone setting, people, they're like, oh, you should never glue anything in. And I'm like, why not? Like, if you're still bezel setting something, why not have that extra glue in there? And they're like, well, that's not the way they used to do it back in 1492. And then you're like, well, you know what? It's also 2022, and you can do whatever you want. And there's not going to be like the bezel police coming around and say, oh no, turn in your glue, hands up. So anyways, so this is a mermaid that we made. You can find this on our website. Those should be shipping out fairly soon if they haven't already. I know that they got a little bit delayed, because we made only so many, and then there were extra, and then we were quarantining. So we had to wait to get some of those out, but they should be going out. If they haven't gone out already, they should be going out soon. So there's this, and I was thinking maybe something like this. So come down, maybe do a lark's head knot and go back through. Maybe. We'll see. That's very long, so I don't know how that would play in. We'll see. So like I said earlier, I'm gonna finish the Kumihimo off camera, just because it's gonna take a little bit of time, and you probably are not gonna want to hang out. And also I have a meeting after this, so I can't hang out. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't hang out. So let's see. Here's this unicorn. I like this unicorn. This unicorn is from Green Girl Studios. I think that's pretty fun. This is kind of like a disco ball. So it's like party unicorn, which is fun. And then there's these cool kind of lamprey glass eye beads. I like those. Harry says, I have a lot of spent brass bullets that could work. Yeah, I used to, one of my friends, she would glue crystals into the spent bullet casings. And they were really cool. They were really popular for a hot minute on like Etsy. Um, and she did a fair business making those. So who knows? Maybe it's time for a revival. Um, I think that became really popular back in the day because silver at the time was so expensive. It was like $40 or $50 a troy ounce. And, doing a project with silver was super expensive. So it made people use alternative materials that before they hadn't really worked with. So, um, around 2008 or so, you saw a huge explosion in vintage brass and raw brass and copper and other metals that weren't as expensive to work with as silver, which was probably because of the housing market. So, and flat screen TVs. So you think about things like that and how how things even seemingly unrelated things like real estate and TVs have an impact on the jewelry industry, which I think is pretty wild. Um, Jody says, I love that mermaid. Ordered one. Can't wait to get it. But I'm not in a hurry. Hope to see that style in different color glitter. Would love a turquoise seahorse. Yeah, we've been trying to source different places of acrylic. Um, of course, as soon as we found one that we liked, they promptly closed. So we only got so much. I had a whole shopping cart filled with like hundreds of different kinds of acrylic, and then they closed down before I could order it. So unfortunately, I didn't get all the ones. They had this beautiful rose gold that I was goo goo gaga crazy for, and unfortunately, I didn't get any because they closed. And when I say closed, they like closed. So yeah. All right, so let's get serious. I'm going to get serious and really try to crank something out really quick so you get to see something finished. Um, well, there are a lot of these beads. I think we're the ones that sent these, the check glass. And I'm just going to lay these out. I think Cynthia sent these pewter spacers and this clasp end. So let's see, 3. And I'm going like, sometimes the thing about designing on the fly is sometimes you have an idea, and sometimes you don't. Like, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Um, and sometimes you can have an idea and it works out in your mind, and then you go to actually do it, and then it doesn't, there's something off about it. So, um, I think that's one of those things where I think I derive a lot of fun and enjoyment from this process. Um, but I know that sometimes it can be frustrating, especially if you have an idea and then you try to make it work and it doesn't actually work. So let's see, maybe I'll put these on either side of that just to kind of break up that blue. Um, Yeah, I think that'll be nice. I kind of wanted to incorporate that pink more because I like that pink. Um, I think it's interesting to look at trends, um, and because you can see how everything kind of works and together in that synergistic way, and you can see patterns in the world. Like we do a trendsetter report in the Great Bead Extravaganza, and oftentimes we're like, how do you figure these things out? And it's from looking at like social media and looking at different things where, we're seeing different things kind of pop up. Like our bead, our trendsetter theme for August was fantasy. And the reason why we did that is because there are so many fantasy franchises that are coming out or have come out. So things like Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, and there's a couple other kind of fantasy franchises that are really big and really popular. Um, and things like Agatha, House of Agatha Harkness, the one from WandaVision. Like that, she's coming out with her own series. So there's all these semi-fantasy or fantasy elements coming out. And, it's easy to think of ourselves as designers being in a bubble, but then it starts inspiring other people and you start to see how things, are connected. So I think that's fascinating myself. I think I'm going to put these little discs, these little pink discs. It'll kind of bring that red and blue combination, make it less stark. All right, so, and I mean, it's just a hint. Isn't that weird how just that hint changes that look? Like, can you see it? It's gone, now it's there. It's gone, now it's there. It's gone, now it's there. And these little things, they kind of are a middle tone to the blue and the red mixing. So that pink, that pinkish purple, that fuchsia color is kind of a bridge that kind of carries, kind of mixes and kind of makes sense that way. At least in my mind, it does. All right, so I'm going to use this fuchsia softlex, or I don't know what this color is actually called, but it's one of that. It was one of the quads or trios that they sent, and I like it. All right, whoops. So I'm going to just string this up and see. This is pretty simple. I mean, it's not anything that's like overly complicated by any stretch of the imagination. But I think that that's one of the nice things about working with a surprise kind of kit is that you never know where the muses are going to take you. And like I said earlier, sometimes you have to give yourself grace and realize that sometimes an idea is good in your mind, but it doesn't always work out on, it's good on paper or in your head, but then when you go and string up the beads, it doesn't actually work out. So if that's the case, I would say just give yourself grace and don't be so committed to an idea. Um, because sometimes it changes, and that's the beautiful nature of designing is even with all the factors and all the variables, there's still that chance that there's that hidden spark, and you can either lose that spark or um, you can find and discover that spark and make it work. But sometimes if we close ourselves off to possibilities, we lose that opportunity. So, you know, lessons, I guess. Y'all didn't know that we are going to deep dive into that, did you? Um, but anyway, so here we go. I'm almost done stringing this up. I love stringing. I think it's one of those things where I started off stringing and I always kind of gravitate back to simple stringing. Um, and even if I have all these different tips and tricks in my back pocket, I always kind of somehow get back to stringing. All right, I'm going to do a rough measure on my wrist. That's pretty good. I'm going to string on one of these crimp tubes, And then I'm going to string on maybe 3/4 of an inch of these seed beads. And I'm not going to even look. I'm just going to pick these up, and what it'll be is what it'll be. Jamie's the one who did the seed bead mix, and she did a lovely job blending those colors. Actually, I think it was one of her helpers who did the mix. Maybe Nancy. I can't remember. She told us last night, and I was like, "Oh my!" She did a good job. So I'm gonna string up a little bit, and maybe an inch, because when I fold it over, it'll be 1/2 an inch, and I don't want this to be too short and stubby, where you can't really get it to go through. All right, so I've strung up that inch or so of seed beads. You can tell I'm being very super precise. I'm actually not. I'm going to put that end in there and then pass this back through the crimp tube. Now you may be wondering why I'm working so far down the wire. And that's because I have more room to work. All this like excitement's over here, and all this excitement's over here. And then when I'm ready, I can just gently tug this, and it'll all you can keep stuff out of the way if you don't want it to be in the way. And I'm going to do this not too tight, because if you make this too tight, it's not great, because then it kind of gets stiff. I'm going to make sure that my flexible beading wire is not crossed, and then I'm going to use the notch closest to my hand to make the taco. I'm going to turn the taco on the side, and then I'm going to close the taco up with the notch closest to the tip. And I've taught all over the country on how to string things up and use crimping pliers, and I think that that is the easiest and best way to kind of describe it if I don't have props. Because and then now I'm going to trim it, and I'm going to make sure that yeah, that I don't trim. I probably should have got a little bit closer with a little bit of a finer tip, but we'll see. All right, I'm going to measure it again, because after I add an inch, it's going to be a little bit loose, and I'm okay with that, but I just want to make sure that it's not going to be too loose that it can fall off. So another option is to take this whole section out, and then make a really long beaded loop. And I think that that kind of gives it a little bit more contemporary look. So maybe I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to actually cut off a fair good amount. He's like, what is he doing with this long? All right, so I don't know if this is going to work. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the universe. I'm still going to have time to course correct if I do it and it looks terrible. So right now I'm just stringing up approximately an inch of these seed beads. Now, one thing that you have to keep in mind is that it's kind of a T-hook on the other side. So you want to make sure that the tension is right. And that's where it gets a little bit tricksy. Because if you get it too loose and the hole is too wide, it's going to kind of create issues for you down the road. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a slightly larger bead. There's, I think, a size maybe 6 in here. I'm going to string that in, and then I'm going to string another inch of seed bead. Oh, I made a mistake. That's all right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to gently put this in between my thumb and forefinger and hold this. And then I'm going to string a crimp tube kind of carefully, semi-carefully. And let's see if I can get it in there. I got it in there. And then just run this back up through my thumb and forefinger. I call this the pinch and inch string technique. And that is because if you go one at a time, it takes a while. But if you build in that little, if you pinch it off, then you can get more on the beading wire instead of scattered and loose. So I've strung up my crimp tube. I've strung up about an inch or so, and then I strung up my size 8 or size 6, and then I'm going to keep stringing, and I'm going to string maybe an inch or so, another inch or so. I mean, like, basically, we're watching paint dry as he strings beads. I don't mind it. I think it's very relaxing and meditative. And for me, I always go back to stringing because I love beads. I love all the fancy techniques, and I love all the different things you can do in the jewelry world. But my first love is beads, and I always go back to beads. I love beads. So, I like big beads, I like little beads, I like all kinds of beads. So for me, I always gravitate towards beads and string because every culture around the world throughout time and all of human history has some sort of body adornment, and they have some sort of beads. And, depending on their culture and the time, those beads had different significances. They meant different things to different people. I think that those stories are a beautiful thing, and is one of the reasons why we called our shop Allegory Gallery, because allegory means a hidden uh, meaning in a poem or an image. And yeah, all of the beads have stories, hidden stories that you reveal. All right, so I've got that little beaded loop, and I'm going to just test it to see if it will work. And it seems to be working and is secure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through that size 6 seed bead. I'm gonna pull it kind of taut. It's gonna be close, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I thought I gave myself a lot extra, but I only gave myself a little extra. So we're just gonna have to hope and hope and hope that I can get it done, and that I left myself a long enough tail to make it work. So we're gonna see if it works or not. All right. So I'm just stringing right now. I've got these seed beads from this mix, and I'm just randomly stringing them up. I'm not super particular about them being in any specific pattern. I know some people are a little bit more particular. I don't try to aim for too many colors like in a row, but if it happens, it happens, and it's not going to be the end of the world. Also, if somebody is that close enough to be saying, oh, you've got 2 red beads next to each other, and not every other one is every other color, they too close, then you back up, and they don't need to be getting so into your business. All right, so I'm just stringing this up. I'm kind of precisely eyeballing this. I want this to be as equal as this side. So I've got about, 2 or 3 more beads that I have to add on. And then I think I'm going to try to put on a pink one because there isn't a pink one on that side. And you're like, I thought he'd just say he's not going to try to fix it with a pattern. But you know what? Sometimes it's nice to have that little hint of color, just like those little 2 fuchsia beads that we put on. Those couple of beads, sometimes just a little tiny bit of color can change things up dramatically. So don't think that they don't have, if you don't have like a lot of beads, that you can't get a lot of bang for your buck. All right, so I'm going to get my pliers out here and I'm going to pass this back up through my crimp tube. And get that to go back in there. And if it doesn't work, you can always kind of twist it and push these together. And then when you twist, then that will help that crimp tube slide over. The one thing you have to be mindful of is that if you get it too loose, you're going to see that beading wire, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, you can really, really, really see it. So I'm just gingerly pulling it. I kind of have forgotten which wire is which at this point, but I'm just kind of gently doing that. And before I get too emotionally invested in this, I'm going and close it up. I'm going to do a flexibility test. So I'm going to wrap it around. I can see right now that I need to add a little bit more space and give so that this has a nice drape to it. If you string it up and it's too tight, guess what? You basically made a bookmark. And, that's fine, but it's maybe not what, if you have it too tight, the thing is that it will break if you then go to do, if it's too tight and you bend it, it will break. Even if it's a super high test, like it has a test strength of 28 or 26 pounds for the medium. Even that will it will break, even though there's not 26 pounds of beads on there. The pressure is. So it's good to make sure that you give yourself enough room. All right, there's that. What do you think of that? All right, so I'm going to just test this on, see how it works. This is going to be interesting to see me try to figure this out with one-handed. Putting on a bracelet one-handed is sometimes tricky. I know there's a bunch of like life hacks that you can do. See, I like that. It's got a little figure 8 and it kind of brings a little bit more color. I mean, it does come off, so I may go back in and try to tighten that up. Either that, there's a little bit of space in here, so we'll see. Get that in there. I should have made that loop a little smidgen tighter. But I wanted to make it easier to take on and off. Of course, if the tension is set, and if you have a slightly bigger wrist, you wouldn't have a problem. But there you go. So I will end up, because this is silver, I probably will find some silver crimp covers and go back over these crimp tubes. And that will take some of that tension off. But yeah. Cheryl says, love these ideas, Andrew. I received one of the giveaway kits today from Softlex, and it's simply amazing. Yeah, all of the people who were involved with the bead trade donated those extra materials to make the kits, and Softlex was generous enough to send those out. And that's a lot of shipping, so they definitely get kudos for that. All right. Now, let's see how this looks. I'm going to take this off and see how it looks. I like it. I'm not mad at that. I think that little bit of pink on the side really makes it a little bit more festive. Now, you could also, well, since William made that, you can see here we mix and match this. And that kind of looks cool. I like mine better. Never mind. I'm just playing. Um, but yeah, so there you go. I think there's another opportunity to add a little bit more festive. If I have a little bit left over of this eyelash yarn, I may go in between these beads and maybe make a little tie like this. And then tie it again. And then maybe just have that a little bit of texture in there. Bring some of that color in. What do you think about that? Do you think that's cool? Yay or nay? Or does that look yuck? I think that's nice. I'll trim it though, um so it's not like too much. But I think that could be cool. Add a little bit of texture and break up this blue a little bit and bring some of that pinks and stuff into it. I think that could be cool. So you would just tie it in between each of these and make sure you do a nice secure knot. You could secure your knot with glue, but I think with this type of yarn, it could get potentially really messy. So, and I'm not going to do it right now. And the reason why is that I'm still working on this Kumihimo part. So if you're just tuning in, we started the video off braiding this with Kumihimo, and I want to make sure I have enough of this yarn so that I get a decent length with this braid. And it stretches a little bit. So if it's tight, it'll be tight right here. And that's kind of good, but you can kind of pull it and it will stretch it out a little bit and make it a little bit longer. So it's really maybe an extra inch longer than it is. It's kind of tightly bound up here, but if we pull it a little bit, it'll stretch it out a little bit. All right. So I think that's fun. I may make some earrings off camera, or maybe I'll save the rest of it and mix it with my Surrealist Garden kit tomorrow night during our Creative Make Along Zoom. But I have a meeting to go to, so I'm actually going to sign off. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. I know that this is a little bit different. William's usually on Thursdays. So it's just me today. Hopefully that was okay. And you didn't get bored to tears watching me Kumihimo. People be like falling asleep. I see a couple more comments. Diane says, love these colors, Andrew. Thank you. Jody says, love that figure 8 clasp. Thanks. Suzanne says, nice. Facebook user says texture is fun. I think I might add a little bit more texture to this because I like it, but I think it needs a little bit of something. If I had them readily accessible, I would have maybe put some sequins in between just to break it up a little bit, add a little bit of pop of color in that. You know, you never know. Jody says, have a great night. Thank you. And Facebook user says, thanks for sharing your expertise, Andrew. It's my pleasure. Thanks for hanging out. If you did not get a chance, go head on over to allegorygallery.com. And we're doing a sale for our anniversary. It's 20% off most of the items in the online store, and use coupon code anniversary. What do you think about us doing a special anniversary kit? Do you think that's a good idea? Or is that like totally crazy? I think if we do that, we would probably debut it on Sunday sometime. I don't know. Do you think that'd be fun? Maybe like a commemorative thing? I don't know if I'll have time. Be like, what do people like celebrate? Like really celebrate their 11-year anniversaries? I don't know. I kind of feel like with our 10-year anniversary, we had all these plans of stuff to do, but then there was like the Delta variant was popping at that time, so we didn't do hardly. I don't think we did anything to celebrate. So it kind of feels like I don't know. It kind of feels like we're in this weird limbo. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you would like a special commemorative kit, and maybe we'll work on that this weekend and then put that available. Maybe some of my favorite things, maybe some of William's favorite things, maybe maybe we'll make a special pendant or something. I don't know. Let me know if you're interested in that. And if enough people say yes, then, or that they might be interested, then we'll go ahead and do it. Otherwise, we're just going to eat cake tomorrow. And you'll just have to enjoy us watching us eat cake by ourselves. Um, all right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great night. I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye, y'all.